Alrighty. So, I'm just coming down off of a marathon of a battle, and you can tell from the battle results that it was rather interesting with 3 tank kills, 3 aircraft kills, 2 assists, no base caps, as this is battle. Does that say that there? I don't know. And 4 deaths, so I was giving and taking in this one. It was a maximum up tier in my 5-7 French for the lulls lineup, and let's go lulls to the wall now and watch this replay together. So this is one of those matches where sometimes it's just about the experience of the match. I mean, it's you get your heart pumping, you get invested into it, and this battle becomes your world. So we will see shortly what I'm talking about here. Let's go ahead and speed things up to where I'm actually in a vehicle. And this was one of my first matches in the ARL 44 tank destroyer. And I'm not entirely sure why I was sitting there, whether that's a replay bug. That's a bit too loud for me, or what. But here we are in the ARL, and you can tell from my positioning, this is battle, and I decided to go for the town because this is a stock vehicle. My accuracy is not going to be good at long range, so I was trying to see if I could encounter anyone at close range. And my first thought with this vehicle is, you know what's going to happen is I'm going to drive all the way around here, finally find somebody, and I'm going to get side shot by an enemy. So we're looking around now, and I'm going to go ahead and turn markers off just to get you into the experience. And check out the awesome handling on the ARL 44. You've got to be kidding me. So this actually goes on for quite some time. I just couldn't get up the bank here. It's too steep of an incline for this ridiculous beast. And I was thinking about this thing today as I was driving it around. What's up with all of those tailpipes you see off to the left? You'd think that they could consolidate the exhaust system a bit and get those pipes to run together. I took a hit from an ally in the rear there, and then a hit in the front from a tiger who managed to not go through my armor, so that's always appreciated. And with a very loud strike, we took down his turret crew and luckily spalled enough into the transmission to immobilize him, setting him up for our next shot. He has a great spot there. It's really unfortunate that he decided to sit exposed for my counter battery fire there. The second round does little damage, but the spalling catches a little bit of an ammo rack, and then we finish him off by taking down the gunner. Nothing wrong with the cannon on the ARL 44 tank destroyer variant. So this is at a 5-7, which is a fantastic battle rating for this beast. And as you can see, its frontal armor is actually decent, being able to bounce 2 or 3 shots from a tiger. And can we get up this hill? Pedal, Francois. Pedal faster. Put all of your baguette into it. You can see where the tiger aimed at us, shooting down into our whole armor. But that frontal plate is so thick that even with the enhanced normalization... Oh boys, this makes the whole trip worth the while. Say something unkind and shoot the Tiger 2H in the back of the turret, where the ammo is always present now and where it's guaranteed to explode. That is a guaranteed one-shot kill these days. And the Tiger 2H still very deadly. I should play that out at some point. Let's speed this up. I'm not really going to accomplish much in the ARL here. We bounce a shot from this tiger, and it takes ages for the gun to get on target. And before we can take him down, we get taken out by a fake M10. Der Ersatz M10. That was a event vehicle that was well worth... Hold on. Do you hear that? underground or underwater audio. That is an interesting dynamic because I am of the suspicion that War Thunder is working on subsurface vessels. There's been lots of depth charges added into the game of multiple varieties, and there's also underwater sounds, which I know they used those underwater sounds in a trailer, but they don't really have a place in naval forces unless something is designed to go under the water. But that's neither here nor there. We're now in the beautiful Narval, which is a fantastic ground strike aircraft, swift as death itself. And is that a Heinkel 112? What is that? We ditched the bombs just in case we need that maneuvering ability, and with a ton of ordnance dropped off of our aircraft, we do handle quite a lot better. Trying to get the lead with the 20 mils, and we take him down. What was that? Anyway, it is an ex-Luftwaffe, and the explosive effect there as its parts shower toward the ground is always satisfying. Can we take a moment to just appreciate how beautiful this battlefield is? Gorgeous sky and my shiny tinfoil aircraft. This really is a beautiful airplane, the SO 8000 Narval. It's one of those premiums that I figured would be a good ground striker, and in that I was not mistaken. I'm not the best with it in air RB matches because it's at the sort of battle rating where I tend to not do very well. It has nothing to do with the aircraft itself. It's a great airframe, good high energy, good even at lower speeds with a great roll rate and a decent turn rate, good energy recovery, as well as decent energy retention, and an air spawn. So what more could you want other than the ability to hit the broadside of a barn with my 6 Menengeschoss firing 20 mils, which I really have yet to perfect the art of that. And if this seems a bit blasé to you, as I said, sometimes it's just about the experience of being in these marathon battles, and this one you can see is going to last 25 minutes. We're halfway through and things are going to heat up from here. The enemy team was really pulling together nicely with some very skilled players putting themselves in good positions with solid vehicles. We do a pass on that Wirbelwind, and it's enough to take down his gunner and I believe commander. And so I decide to go ahead and go for a second pass here, as dangerous as that is. But unfortunately, we lose track of our target, and this is going to be bad news for us because we only had seconds here to perform another attack run to finish him off. And we get taken down, as you do when you let the whirlwind get a jump on you. Very hard to spot targets against this browned earth, which makes things easier for me when I don't want to get hit, but a little bit more difficult in the ground strike role. We decide that we're still going to fly out in some aircraft here, taking out the P-63, and this beautiful P-63 C5, C10, something like that. I can't, oh, here it is, yeah. C5, yeah. Is an absolutely gorgeous example of the French getting the best American aircraft. So this one, as you can see, is my baby. And I am going to have a great time in this match with this plane. I'm tracking an enemy right now. And there he goes. He must have spotted us at some point, so we dropped the bombs. Again, going into a fighter-on-fighter role here, and we're able to outturn him already. We're practically on his 6. He's burned a good portion of his energy in that in that climb, And if we can just get the guns on target here, we could get a quick kill. That came reasonably close using the keyboard aim there. As ground fire attacks him, we're opening up, and it's just a matter of seconds now before we take him down. 37's coming dangerously close, and one blows off his tail section. Always satisfying to get that one hit kill with the 37s. Thank you for the cannon buff, a guy jiggles. Now we're at 2 deaths and 4, counting our 2 air and 2 land kills. And as I said before, this is a rewarding and dynamic experience in the P-63, an aircraft that can hold its own well in ground strike or air-to-air. It really is one of those fighters that performs well at many speeds and in many roles. We hear an aircraft, so we begin evasive maneuvers. I don't know where he is, so we're hoping that he overshoots, or maybe he's actually an ally. That would be nice. 50 cals opening up on the Jagdpanther, who's posted himself there in a defensive position. Not a bad idea in battle where we have to come to him if we're going to win the match. So I'm marking him on the map for my allies, acting as a scout in the OG fashion, and also racking up a little bit of score. I hear aircraft in my area, but I know it's an ally, so no worries there. More 50 cals open up on him, and I believe that P-47 actually flew into my fire a bit there, as I heard my ghost co-pilot say, "That was an ally." He's an ally! Something like that. So we have 4 50 cals on this darling of an aircraft, 2 of which are mounted in the nose, and those are the ones I really rely on because they're also coaxial with the 37mm, which really helps us to get that mean gun on target. Aircraft behind us is an ally, so no worries. Life is good. And just look at how gorgeous this aircraft is. The way it smoothly flies through the sky, and we're keeping our altitude low here, our speed above 300 miles per hour at this point, which is plenty of maneuvering energy. And because I know I can outturn most BF-109s and all Focke-Wulfs, we're pretty safe here as we continue to harass ground targets, mark out enemies on the map. Allies on the ground are still somewhat numerous, and we see that Jagdpanther on the move now. Not a bad idea. It's a good time to reposition. He's really not catching any fish where he was, and he was spotted. Here we continue to spot him, so hopefully that will give our team the advantage they need in taking down that very dangerous foe. I do believe he's going to pick off a few of us before the good guys manage to win the day against the Axis. This is one of those battles that really is a war of attrition, as you could see from the scoreboard ahead of time. It's just like the Battle of El Alamein itself, a bloodletting as it were, pitting the strength of the Allies against the strength of the Axis in an all-out battle in the dust, in the dirt, as we open up with the 37, getting low on ammunition for the 50s, and it looks like even that Jagdpanther has taken damage to his cannon breech, so that's fantastic news for our side. And at some point soon here, I'm going to hear an aircraft and begin defensive maneuvers again. Even though I can't see the enemy, it's always a good idea, if you hear an aircraft and you're not sure if it's an ally, to start checking your 6 and doing some evasive turns. Here we are pulling a regular loop, getting back on target for that Jagdpanther. It's sort of like killing time, but again, this is building a score. This is marking the enemies that our allies have a chance to get behind him. There's that aircraft we hear. This is going to be a Heinkel 219. We pull a nice defensive, what would that be, half roll, I guess, there, and we get right onto his 6. Now there's really nothing he can do. I've seen some very skilled Heinkel 219 pilots that can manage to pull off an overshoot against a foe such as myself, but this is not one of those pilots, as he decides to go for a loop, hoping to burn some speed here to where I can get ahead of him, but it's just not going to be enough as he's totally low on energy here, and all he can do is try and dolphin. And with a ghost round that the replay didn't register, we blew off his wing with one hit from the 37 there, now getting low just in case an enemy noticed our conflict and decided to come at me. Now popping up, taking a look around, we don't see any enemy aircraft, with now 3 air kills and 2 ground kills, picked up a couple of assists and a couple of deaths along the way. At this point, I'm really considering what my next best move is. I could go back to base and recover some bombs, which might not be a bad idea, but at this point, I just want to find some ground targets, empty out my 37mm ammo, and then either J out and jump into a ground vehicle or look for trouble by returning back to base. In any event, this match has been a long time going, and we hear an enemy fighter, so we start doing some evasive action, but he is on us good as he zooms in, and with some nicely aimed fire there in the deflection shot, saws off our wing with 1 or 2 hits from his Menenga shots. As we look, that is a BF-109. I think that was it a G2 or a K? I think it might have been a K. Anyway, this is one of my favorite vehicles in the entire game. Should surprise no one that's a veteran of this channel that yet again my favorite vehicle is a Sherman, and this one's especially cool because it's an honorary Egyptian tank. And what do I mean by that? Well, sorry, it's an honorary Israeli tank. And what do I mean by that? Well, it was an Egyptian military vehicle, and as all Egyptian military vehicles eventually do, it decided to invade Israel and give itself up to be captured by the Israelis, presumably after the crew abandoned it, as you do when you're Egypt invading Israel. Hey, it's not even a joke. It's historical fact. You thought the French were good at running away? They must have taught everything they knew to the Egyptians before they invaded Israel a few times. In fact, Egypt kind of learned their lesson lately. And what's his name? Abdul Nasser in, I think it was the 80s, was like, you know what, guys, I'm done invading Israel. And then some radical shot him. So that's unfortunate, but it was a wise decision on his part, and Egypt has not taken part in wars against Israel since that time. So the more you know. This is the beautiful M4A1 FL10, and apologies if I'm talking a bit too loud today. I have the volume turned up a little bit higher than normal, just so that you guys can hear. So if I have the grandpa's hearing aids are dead effect going on, and I talk way too loud, I'm sorry. That's just the way things are today. I can never get my audio balanced properly. Just look at this gorgeous tank. So something you may or may not have noticed is that our team is really on the brink here, as an allied P-47 flies overhead and a Yak crosses his path. It looks like we have air dominance at this point, but what we need is boots on the ground, or tracks, as it were. So with 4 minutes left in the replay, what's left to say other than look at the great camouflage this thing has, and again, very difficult to spot an immobile target in this environment, especially with the Dunkelbraun, which is mustard brown in German. No, I think it's actually more like a tan brown. Anyway, Dunkelbraun is the color of the standard Tiger and so many other powerful German vehicles that are in this battle, such as the Tiger II-H and the Jagdpanther, and they will be very difficult to spot against those knobby rocks. And we just for swag, we pull a 180 kickflip nollie grind there on the rock, earning ourselves 820 skater points that we can then trade in for unique decals. Just kidding. Maybe I was in binocular view just a little bit too long. And again, this is one of those marathon matches. So we are just absolutely going to the brink here of the extent of our patience, of our attention. Look at the beautiful detail on this vehicle. You gotta hand it to Gaijin's 3D modelers. They really do a great job. I mean, could you pick a smaller detail to make absolutely gorgeous? Anyway, we're gonna get ourselves into trouble here. We've picked up a kill, and oh, hold on. Whoa, we're zooming into space. There we go. We picked up a kill, and we're not going to make a huge difference moving on here. Now, it is nice that we washed our vehicle. Did I tell you that I used to work at a car wash? That was a fun time. A lot of time to sit and talk with people, as you know I love to do, or I should say stand and talk with people while we were doing our jobs, and that was one of my favorite parts of the work. Let's see, I've told you guys I was a firefighter. I've cooked at a few restaurants. I worked at a automatic car wash. Where else? I've had a lot of jobs. I did data entry for a little while, and you'd think data entry, where you take figures off of a piece of paper and plug them into a computer database. That sounds super boring. Actually, I had a great time. It was a lot of and look at that. He blended in so well. By the time we knew we were in trouble, he already had us scoped in, and he takes us down with one nicely placed shot there. He's also backed up by a tiger, so this is a dangerous duo playing defense here, and I have a few options as as we go back into that, and I decided to go with the Narval because, again, this is a premium plane, gets good rewards. I love this vehicle. Let's go ahead and speed things up a bit while we get into the combat zone. We're not going to really encounter anything too dangerous here or exciting as we get into. Let's see how close I got with those bombs. So I know there's a tiger here. My allies have been talking about him. And there's all this fire, but I think he's still alive, and in fact he is. So even though there's all that fire there is a tiger in the midst, as it were. We did some hits on him just to see if we could, just to make sure he was still alive. And then we drop our bombs, but I think they landed just a bit off, did quite a bit of damage to him, taking down his cannon barrel and both tracks, but we did not manage to wipe him out, and with that the match ended, in this case for victory for our team, and that's probably down to the fact that we were a bit more aggressive, played less of defense and more offense, and that ended up winning the day for us. As you saw before, there's the results. Very exciting battle, as the score will tell you. And as usual, airplanes get a lot better score than ground vehicles do. 5-7 French can be a lot of fun, and this is probably not the best 5-7 lineup, but I really cannot recommend the Narval enough. If you're looking for an interesting and odd vehicle, as you know I enjoy, and French teams in general have some pretty strong vehicles, especially with the premium 4.7 M4A1 FL10. Anyway, guys, I've rambled on way too long. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you and sharing this match that's more of a marathon, because they're not all about getting, that dank flank and racking up a whole bunch of kills. Sometimes you are in it for a real commitment, and victory is one of those things you have to squeeze out of the rock. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Stay frosty out there. Bye-bye.